Isn't this a cute little boy? He looks like a little boy that needs love, needs care, needs a touch of Jesus. And today we're going to look at compassion, the pathway to divine power. This is such an important topic for us all. For me, especially, because I can get so busy that I miss showing the compassion and love of Christ to others. We need to think about how we can touch the life of somebody else the way Jesus did. And here's a really good quote by Francis Frangipane. A new awakening is coming to the church. It will be birthed by prayer and sheltered by humility, but its power will emerge through compassion. The strength of this fresh move is the deep yearning of the Lord himself. Yes, even in the midst of hellish conditions on earth, he has promised, I will have mercy on whom I have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I have compassion. Romans 9:15. Common people, flooded and compelled by the burning compassions of God, shall be used mightily in the coming years. They shall transform multitudes. Christ's compassions shall be especially revealed where human suffering is unrelenting. And as you know, we are moving into serious days, and there's suffering all around the world, and it's only going to increase before Jesus returns to earth. So we need to show compassion to others like this person is showing to this child. Jesus wants us to show compassion. And let's look into this. Compassion, the pathway to divine power. Well, Jesus was known for his compassion. Everywhere he went, he healed the sick. He touched people. He felt deeply compassionate towards people. He wants us to feel the same way he feels. But often, as I said, we are too busy to live like Jesus, and we don't see the needs around us. We just run past people. We miss out on what God wants to do. Often, we can be proud, we can be ambitious, we can be so focused on ourselves and what we need to do that we miss the needs of others. And I want to challenge you today. I want to challenge myself to ask God to fill you afresh with his compassion for other people. It's a pathway to divine power in your life, in my life. And I want to just tell you about a situation in my life when I was diagnosed with cancer many years ago. I had breast cancer in my life. At that time it began to radically change. Suddenly, I saw my life in a new dimension. I began to see people with the eyes of Jesus. I began to see the lost in a way I hadn't seen them before. I began to just see things totally different. And I realized I wanted that living water to flow through my life, just like it flowed through Jesus. I didn't want to live an ordinary life. I wanted to be different. That challenged me so much. I began to see God's eyes of compassion. We need to see God's eyes of compassion. God used that trial in my life to soften me. But when Jesus was moved with compassion, miracles happened. He had a heart of compassion. And I wanted that. I needed to have that trial in my life to see how Jesus lived and how Jesus walked. And God wants us to minister in a way like Jesus did. Let me read to you this verse, Matthew 14:14. When he went ashore, he saw a great multitude and felt compassion for them and healed their sick. Isn't that what we need? We need that divine power. And in what way we can ask ourselves, is compassion the pathway to divine power? Well, we have a friend named Bobby, and he leads many people to the Lord every day. What is the secret to so much success in evangelism? Why are people compelled to come into the kingdom through his method of sharing the gospel? Let me tell you. One of his secrets is his compassion towards the lost. Bobby's not afraid to cry. He's not afraid to weep with those who weep. Individuals see his compassionate heart, and they know that he cares about them. Through his life, they see that God's concerned about them. Bobby's the human channel of the compassionate heart of God to everyone he meets. And it's hard to resist the compassion of God's people when the world is so dark and uncaring. And the world is getting darker. It's uncaring. And God wants to pour his compassion through your life and through my life. What does that word mean in the Greek? Let's just look at it. Compassion, according to its Greek definition, is a yearning in the bowels. True compassion emerges from the compassions of God. The human channel of his compassions must be united with the yearnings of God, because most of us have been exhausted by the limits of our compassions. We must submit again to the opening of our hearts. Trust God to help, for we must learn to surrender afresh to the fire of compassion's quest. Consider also, beloved, that this yearning in the bowels, this the innermost being, is the very region from which Jesus said rivers of living water shall flow. This new level of compassion will not exhaust us with impotent sympathy, but will instead align our spirits with the power of Christ to heal, save, and redeem. Powerful quote. Just a look at that in all its dimensions. And God wants to pour that kind of compassion through your life and my life, but it's supernatural, and it's from God, and it's the yearnings of his heart. And compassion is birthed by God in our innermost being, in our prayer closets, and it's ignited as we reach out to others. And God's compassion will not exhaust us, but will set us free. It will empower us to love. It will give meaning in our lives. It will lead us out of being self-centered. And it will set us free to do all that God intends to do through us to reach the world. Jesus walked in this compassion and love. And he knew that love and compassion would motivate us to live obedient lives and to bring in God's kingdom. He will bring in God's kingdom. God wants the river of living water to flow through you and I, unhindered, and it won't exhaust us. It will refresh us. It will ignite something within us. It will set us free. It will do something so wonderful that will be different people. I needed a hard lesson, but God wants us to be trained in this and to move in this in the coming days. People all around us are searching, are needy, are wanting love and compassion. And it's you and I that can give it out freely. May he show us his pathway to divine power. God bless you.